I'm walking, so I'm going to turn off my video.
Okay, no problem. So let's get started. So welcome everyone. My name is Desiree El Shaber Desiree, and I'll be your host for today. With me, I have Sarah Daniel, who's going to be telling us a little bit about the Jobs for Lebanon initiative and the outsourcing piece of it. We've got Muhammad, who's going to be telling us about BDD and all the great work that they're doing there and why that is the best place for entrepreneurs that want to set up in Lebanon to go. And Wissam, who's going to talk to us from his experience of an entrepreneur that actually not only survives but thrives in Lebanon and why he thinks everybody should follow in his footsteps. So before we get started, just a couple of logistics items. If you are not speaking, please put yourselves on mute. If you're able to put your camera on, would love to see your faces and actually get a feel how you're thinking and how this is evolving. It's much nicer to speak to faces than to black boxes with a name. If you have a question, feel free to send it on the chat, either to me directly or to the general chat. Also, if you do need to speak up or you think that something needs to interject, also feel free to unmute yourself and then speak up. I tend to not always see when people raise their hands, so I would love for you to either send the comment or just speak up. With that said, let's get started. So, I am a digital VP at McKinsey, based out of Paris, and I have been involved with Alumni Central since the very inception of it, really when it was an idea. And what Alumni Central is a hub for leading global alumni and achievers in Lebanon. And what I mean by that is alumni from a lot of these leading universities, the experts that will come back and then want to do good in the country. And really the main goals from it is to provide a personal as well as a professional networking platform to run projects and then give back to the community. If you'd like to know more about it, please do visit us at alumni-central.com. And today's webinar is provided as a joint effort by Alumni Central and Jobs for Lebanon. And with that, I'll leave the floor to Sarah to tell us about Jobs for Lebanon.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to see so many faces and a lot of familiar ones as well. So I'm here. I'm just going to introduce a bit of Jobs for Lebanon, what we do, and in terms of outsourcing, what have we been doing on that front. So Jobs for Lebanon started in March 2020, after having seen the dire and very harsh economic circumstances that Lebanon was going through. It's a citizen-led initiative. The mission is to help revive the Lebanese economy by creating jobs for Lebanese talents. It's an NGO that's registered in the US. And the way that we do that is that we're calling on our international networks and on the diaspora to create jobs for Lebanon through the Jobs for Lebanon platform, which is a platform that's powered by Smart Recruiters, which is a recruitment software, a world-renowned recruitment software. To date, there has been close to 1,200 jobs that have been published on the platform and 155 hires. So that's 155 families that have been impacted by this initiative. And so that's something that we're very proud of and we want to grow. So the platform is mostly used to identify Lebanese talent for remote work, but it has been used by Lebanese companies in Lebanon to hire in Lebanon and by companies abroad to hire abroad. And as we were working on this, we realized the importance and the value of connecting this global network to Lebanese companies as well. And that's where the outsourcing initiative was born. We started getting requests from abroad for Lebanese software companies or Lebanese marketing companies. And so today what we're doing is that we're actively sourcing Lebanese providers in different sectors to be able to connect them to opportunities abroad and to help support in that process and making that process as seamless as possible. So this is what we've been doing on the outsourcing front, and we've been in touch with companies like CME and the likes. And that's it. And we're very happy to be part of this webinar.
Thank you, Sarah. And Sarah and I used to work together, so it's really lovely to be on the same panel. So since we're speaking about CME, Wissam, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, but also what CME does?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for organizing today's event. So I'm a telecom engineer. I graduated 17 years ago from AZIB. It's the School of Engineering at St. Joseph University. And initially, I had a completely different plan than ending up as an entrepreneur. I was pursuing a PhD program, but due to the lack of funding and sponsorship, I ended up without a job. So I started providing freelance services in programming, and this is how everything started. But just to give you some idea about the challenges that we had back in 2003, it's almost similar to what we have today, 2020 in Lebanon. Because back then, everyone told me, including family members, friends, every single person I know, that you cannot do anything in Lebanon. The famous quote, "ما فيك تعمل شيء بلبنان." So it was, I had mixed a lot of bad feelings or negative feelings about that. It's a mix of anger and frustration. But this was the source of my motivation and my energy. And I decided to beat this challenge, or at least to challenge the myth of you can't do anything in Lebanon. And fortunately, I met my partners back then, my CME partners, and this is how we started setting up CME in place, and we grew it from 4 to almost 350 engineers today worldwide.
Oh, wow. And out of the 350, how many are based in Lebanon?
Almost 60%. So I would say around 220 engineers are based in Beirut, but most of the project management stuff and the engineering work, it's all managed by the CME resources in Lebanon. So we have offices in the US, in Argentina, India, China, and Beirut, but most of the engineering resources are based in Beirut. And all the other offices are more of a supportive role for Lebanon.
Interesting. And you just moved your offices to BDD?
Yep, recently, yep, fortunately.
Yeah, well, great then. Well, let's hear from the BDD master then. What is BDD? Why is it such a great place to be? And maybe also you can start us off with your personal story.
Hello, Desiree. Thank you. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Wissam. So yeah, just also a background. So civil engineer, AUB, graduated with distinction with award for creative achievement. Applied to go for a master's degree in the US after that. Got accepted MIT Urbana-Champaign, UT Austin. Selected UT Austin because was offered a full scholarship, so typical track of many Lebanese. Worked with the US Department of Transportation on impact of electronic commerce on virtual supply chains, and that was the story and link at the end of the 90s, 99s of me and the interest in technology. Then I wanted to leave the States to come back closer to my parents. So after 2 years in the US, decided to set up in Paris into consulting with Pete Marwick, CIC Pete Marwick. Worked there for 5 years across Europe and industries of aeronautical industries, construction, transportation, supply chain management. And then again, wanting to be really closer to the family and come back to the country where I love and where I have the bond. Went back to Lebanon in 2005, end of 2004, before like the assassination of Prime Minister Hariri. Everyone said, why come back now? And it was like the biggest challenge these days. Went back with Booz Allen Hamilton, worked for a year, and then joined the ZRE group. It wasn't created ZRE. It was Zain Group, mostly a family business into the trading of LPG. And they were starting with the real estate, and I had grew the real estate industry and the real estate sector in Lebanon. Worked with them and founded ZRE, that we started from 6 people to today 60 people. Identified a war-torn area, and that's where BDD starts. Invested in it with the same family, led on the investment, and the idea was a war-torn, left out point zero of Lebanon. I always considered point zero, intersection of north, south, east, and west. That's why, unfortunately, it was the separation between Beirut East, Beirut West, that had seen the worst time of war during the Lebanese civil war. And I always saw the opportunity of Lebanon and the future in Lebanon is, as we all know, the graduating talent on a yearly basis. The culture, the diversity, and our vision was from day one when we launched in 2013 is to transform it into a hub to attract 10,000 dynamic, creative community members who will not only be working at BDD, but living and playing with their children in a smart neighborhood. And to achieve that, we always knew that what we wanted to do is to save time for these creative talent, to help them focus on their core idea, and we take care of the time-consuming services and the hassle that you have to deal with in Lebanon. So let us take care of the hassle that you have, and you as a company focus on your core business. And that's how BDD started, and that's how BDD is continuing today despite all the challenges.
Great. And how many tenants do you have today?
So today, BDD is, as I mentioned, 20 years vision, 5 phases. Today, we have 1,600 community members. We have 150 companies. Average size of the company accordingly is 10 to 12, but we have from a founder company to 100 employee, 100 community member companies.
Okay, and they're all in the creative fields or digital?
Yeah, 90% the creative, digital. The amazing thing is the campus environment that we have hosts these 1,600 community members. Average age is almost 32, 33 years old, almost at parity between female and male. So we're at 40, 60%. We're aiming for the 50-50, all creative. What we have is exactly the image of Lebanon that everyone today joining, or we all from our network know, is the energy and the hope that we know Lebanon has, and it's the real oil and gas that exists in Lebanon, and that we always believe will be the savior of Lebanon in the future.
Yeah, our intellectual capacity. And all of the companies that, sorry?
In the companies, we have local, multinationals, support organization. So that's the spread that we have. Incubators, accelerators, VCs. And the idea is to help really accompany companies, because our foundation is 5 pillars: community, like-minded people who help each other to grow. And as they grow, we achieve our vision. Sharing economy, which is really focus on your core business. Let us take care of all the time-consuming services. Fiber optics, high-speed internet. From day one, when we pitched the project, we told them, this is what's needed for Lebanon. You need digital highways. You don't need to invest in physical highways. It is important, but the more important is digital highways. We have the fastest internet in Lebanon that is connected to BDD. And with that, then smart neighborhood, smart lead environmental with social well-being to really give a better feeling and better sense of community to our tenants.
Sounds like it was a very visionary project from the beginning, and it sounds like you have a lot of traction. We have gone through very defining moments in the recent history in Lebanon. I'm talking about October 17th, I'm talking about August 4th, including the pandemic and then the COVID. How has that affected your operating model, and what is changed today? Be it in your ambitions, in the way you're interacting with the tenants, the social distancing, all that.
So I would say any entrepreneur would only learn how to progress and how to be able to find even better solutions with increasing challenges. And I can say this year has been really quite challenging. An experience that you wouldn't get for many years, within many years. So from the revolution.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not to repeat, but great experience. I would summarize in great experience. Like we've lived through the war, and I'm sure that we'll live it and we'll come out stronger with that. It has been really challenging, but what have we learned and what's the opportunity after now what has happened? So we faced many security issues with everything that as we are really at the ring situation, all the challenges that has happened during the revolution. Then you have all the financial crisis that has impacted many companies and many startup and the ecosystem. You have the 331 that was impacted, that affected many of our incubators, accelerators, VC funds that were established at BDD. Then you had COVID, big impact on the way to work from home versus office versus remote working. Then comes the blast, like one of a kind, nothing to even describe what has happened, this tragedy. Yet, coming out of these, today, I would see it a correction. And although there has been an increase potentially in the rotation and some companies who have either left out of Lebanon or some companies that were not able to continue because of lack of funding or the 331 being stopped. Today, I am at full occupancy. Today, I'm continuing with phase 2 and faster because we have a bigger demand from companies that want to set up in Lebanon to benefit from a more competitive rates due to the financial crisis and the ability to hire talent in Lebanon, paying possibly with fresh money, and these talents staying in Lebanon and being able to have a much higher purchasing power. Today, there has been lots of NGOs looking for a place to set up from day one and to start working immediately and having the right infrastructure without the hassle that they have to deal with Lebanon, and they would come to us. Today, also unfortunately, but also fortunately, many companies really want to be in a space where they can focus on their core business, as I mentioned, because so many problems are around them, and this is becoming an opportunity. And I believe we'll come out stronger. We'll come up perhaps with a different mix. We'll come up with a correction, but typical to any financial crisis worldwide, whoever is able to sustain and reinvent and reposition his offering will come out stronger.
Yeah, sounds like a great value proposition to companies, that's for sure. And would love to hear from you, Wissam, how your experience has been since you moved to BDD, I believe, not even that long ago.
Yeah, well, I guess Muhammad already covered most of the aspects, but as he said, the most important part is you do not have to worry about all the infrastructure details. You know, in Lebanon, in order to provide or to operate properly, you need to have plan A, B, C, and D. So you can cover all the different risks or to mitigate all the risks around us, infrastructure risks. So I'm talking about the potential lack of fuel or even the challenging internet situation that we're going to probably face in a couple of months from today. So all of that is being taken care of by a trusted entity who is providing a quality service at this level. So this is indeed something that we do not have to worry about it, and it adds a lot of value to anyone who's planning to set up his business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sounds like BDD has been super helpful, but this is not about BDD specifically. This is about generally setting up a company in Lebanon, and you've operated outside of that context as well. So what are some of the tips and tricks that you can share with anyone that's with us today that is thinking about setting up a company in Lebanon? Why do you think it's a good idea, and what are some of the shortcuts or proven methods that have worked for you?
Sure. So first, let's define the main market or the main potential of Lebanon today compared to other outsourcing destinations. So you have three models in the technology industry. First, you have the Silicon Valley model. We are not there, and it's almost impossible today to implement a Silicon Valley model in Lebanon.
And by the Silicon Valley model, you mean quick startups, lots of innovation, partnerships with the universities, all that?
No, it's more about the startups, I would say. Mm-hmm. The first model. And I think today, because of the lack of funding, because of the lack of, again, the trust as well, it's a bit hard to achieve that. The second model is the typical outsourcing model, which is focused on the economy of scale. So availability of resources, quality of resources, low cost resources, etc. And this is also not possible in Lebanon because we do not have the resources. We do not have a high availability of resources. We have limited resources, but at the same time, we have high quality resources, and I'm gonna talk about them in a little bit. The third model is more of what I call the premium outsourcing, which is not based on quantity, but based on quality. So because we do not have the economy of scale in terms of resources and cost reduction or containment, then we're better positioned for a premium service, to provide a premium service or a high quality service. So I'm going to give a couple of examples just to make sure you know exactly what I mean. In the software industry, you have different segments. You have the what we call the commodities services, like the e-commerce, all the web platforms, etc. This is more of a commodity. It doesn't have deep industry, deep domain expertise. So you can find typical software developers in Ukraine or other countries in Eastern Europe or even in Asia, much more cheaper than other destinations. And they all provide almost the same quality because this is a more of a commodity solution. But if you go deeper into other demanding industries, such as the insurance, healthcare, banking, energy, and all the, what I call the heavy domain expertise industries, those are a bit different. They do not require just coders. They do not require just people to write code. They require people to understand the domain expertise, the business challenge, and then come up with a solution. And writing the code is the last step of the process. It's not a bottleneck here. So
can you give a practical example of what you mean by domain expertise from your client base, for example?
Sure. For instance, if we're talking about the insurance industry, you know that the insurance industry, it has a lot of, the actuarial science behind it, the underwriting process. It's a heavy process. It's not a typical process. You would need to invest a lot of time to learn the process itself and the ideas behind the process. Another example is the energy sector, the way you generate energy or transfer or transmit energy. This is also something that requires electrical knowledge and physical knowledge as well. So this is not about programming, it's more about understanding the challenge. And this is what we have in Lebanon, because today, what is really unique about the Lebanese talents? First, it's the multidisciplinary aspect that we have, because most of our engineers, they are based on their curriculum or academic curriculum. They learned physics, they learned electricity, mechanics, etc. So they have a wide knowledge about almost everything. And this is basically needed in a country with a small population like Lebanon. But at the same time, it added a lot of value to our talents. In a way, they are able to understand the domain expertise challenge, whether for the banking, the healthcare, the energy, or the heavy domain expertise industries. The second aspect is more about the ability of Lebanese to solve problems. You know that if you think about it today, who actually solved the electricity problem in Lebanon? It's the people. We solved the problem. I'm not saying we solved it the best way or the best eco-friendly way, of course not. But at least we're not living in the dark today. People solve their problems, and this is what we got used to do it since the war days, right? This is what we did. We solved our problems with ourselves. We did not even depend on anyone else. So this is more of the Lebanese factor, and it's all about solving problems. The passion to solve problems. It's embedded in our mindset, and this is a big advantage compared to other countries. We worked with other countries, as I mentioned at the beginning. We worked with India, with Argentina, with China, and even we worked with Eastern Europe. And there is a clear difference in terms of quality between the Lebanese resources, the Lebanese talents versus other resources. So I would say the best destination or the best option or best scenario for anyone who's aiming to set up a business in Lebanon is for a business who's planning to set up. I'm not saying R&D unit, but it's more of innovation, creativity. So if he's looking more for a disciplined approach, a commodity approach, Lebanon is not the right destination. If he's looking for a creativity or a balance between discipline and creativity, then Lebanon is the right destination.
So high value add activities that require some deep expertise that you can partner with. And just to clarify, what does CME actually do? You are in the software business and.
Sure, actually not just software. So we started initially as a typical outsourcing company by providing staff augmentation for US-based companies, whether startups or giant companies, part of the Fortune 500 companies. So we provided different kind of services, and this is how we grew CME. But while growing, we also acquired what I said about the domain expertise in different industries and a diversity of technology or technological capabilities. So today, the different services that provide at CME, they start from staff augmentation, of course, which is our initial offering, customer experience, Internet of Things. And by Internet of Things, I do not just mean the software part, but we also do the hardware part. So we design the smart devices. It's not just about the software. And this is pretty unique to CME, especially on the regional level. We develop all the IoT solution, software and hardware solution with in-house capabilities. Most of them are located in Beirut, which is, I think, one of our main competitive advantages today. Artificial intelligence, we also developed our own intellectual property technology around the AI, specifically in OCR and image recognition. Process automation, we also provided huge solutions for companies around the world. I'm going to name a couple of them now, as well as data management. So we served companies like Subway, for instance. We developed for Subway the supply chain management solution for the food, including a food safety or focused on food safety. Today, it's deployed in more than 35,000 locations worldwide, 17 different countries, and we got awarded 3 times by Subway as best technology vendor worldwide. And they actually broadcasted a film about CME Beirut as part of one of their user conventions in Las Vegas a few years ago. We also provided services for PayPal. We developed for them the digital payment system or digital wallet that they currently use to compete with Apple Pay and Google Wallet. We worked with Dollar General. We also built for them the customer experience solution that they currently use with their customers. Dollar General is one of the major retailers in the US. So they have more than 16,000 locations. They are a public company as well. So this is the scale that we're serving at CME. This is the kind of services that we provide. And it's all coming out of resources that are here based in Beirut.
This is very impressive. Yeah. Mohammed, I want to go back to you. For an entrepreneur like Wissam, who is actually having to serve all these international clients, which part of the value chain do you really help them with? We gather the operational piece where you help them with the setup, with the infrastructure, etc. Do you help them with recruiting? Do you help them with communicating with customers? Do you help them with customs? Let's say they want to get hardware imported into the country and then they need to يخلصوا معاملاتهم, for example. Do you help them with banking pieces? Which parts do you actually play in?
So with the services that we provide from day one, the one of the most is what you mentioned, Desiree, is the HR. Okay, we're trying to attract the best talents to BDD for the companies to hire the best talent so that the companies grow, and as they grow, we grow with them, is the main objective where we have invested the last years between when we launched the BDD Academy and when we partnered with universities through our internship program, where we had in summer 2019, pre-COVID, more than almost 120 interns from different universities across Lebanon, AUB, USG, LAU, Lebanese University. And the good thing out of that is even with interns, we had more than 12 interns hired before even having graduated. So definitely HR with our BDD career portal, with the BDD Academy being selected as BDD, the partner for the upcoming Skilling Up Mashriq initiative by the World Bank Group, where we even recently, last week, partnered with them and with Microsoft for the 10 most demanded jobs worldwide to get Microsoft certifications to be able to get better jobs even internationally, is the key pillar where we are focusing for the last 3 years, because we wanted to bridge the gap between academia and businesses. So that's one key pillar. And we help by CVs forwarding to that. But then, as you said, there is the day-to-day operation. Follow up with Ministry of Finance, application to OGEO, municipality, electricity, telephones, setup. All of these, we give them for free. And even the HR services are for free.
Now, all the fun stuff.
Yeah. Sorry?
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, all the fun stuff, absolutely.
Excellent. And we're getting some questions on the chat, and I want to actually, and sorry to interrupt you, how do you reach out to these colleges that you work with, and how easy was it to actually get the certification from Microsoft?
So to the two questions, universities, we went as on trial basis. We always like to pilot and then expand. So we piloted the first collaboration with the Faculty of Engineering and Architecture at AUB, being an AUB alumni from the engineering school. We started with small programs, see how it evolved, and we started with like 20 interns. And as I mentioned last year, 120, and we started expanding, because today, with all the hype of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, BDD has turned to be a hub, as I mentioned, attracting all the innovations, entrepreneurs, startups, but not only startups, also companies, large companies who want to set up and try to innovate or have like the digital hubs or digital teams within next to these new startups ideas. And so this combination became an attraction also for universities to push their students to innovate. That's how we were able to achieve and get, for the first time, AUB go outside AUB, outside the campus, and launch their innovation park at BDD to act as an incubator for companies to be created, to be connected with the AUB alumni, and potentially to raise funds. Now, on the other side, from a company's perspective, what we want to try to get with them, what are their needs, and what is the training that they are not finding from the companies. For example, that's why coding is one of the most important needs. That's why we partnered, for example, with SE Factory, a coding school that is known to be able to hire 90% of its graduating talents on every batch, and the companies coming back saying that they save them at least 3 to 6 months training within their companies. So we help them, incubate them at BDD, support them, give them the space until they grow, and by helping them grow across Lebanon today, helping them hire within the different companies that are within BDD as a first destination, providing preferential rate to our companies, or the premium advantage to take the best talents at BDD before going to the other companies, is how we try to help our companies. That's one. Second, very important, all our communities basis is based on mentorship, connecting to each other, and working with each other. And that is done through the app, that's done through events, that is done even through simple introduction by email. Whenever someone is in need of a certain web development, app development, we can refer them to the companies that we have in BDD through our community management team. And we have invested almost 30% of our budget is catered yearly on these support initiatives through our partners. Again, we always go through our partners because we want to try to attract the best to grow at BDD, to provide the best quality to our tenants so that we help them grow, and thus achieving the first vision, which is the 10,000 dynamic creative talent who will be working, living at BDD.
So in addition to the operational pieces and the fun administrative stuff, you help also with the recruiting piece and with strategic partnerships for the talent augmentation.
We do have also legal, accounting, auditing, but all of these are tick lists. Some companies, and we recommend, you're not obliged, it's a tick list. We're happy to refer you to a lawyer if you want to set up. We're happy to recommend a lawyer that will have really preferential rates for you to set up. We're happy to follow up with the bank that we know to be able to open a bank account. So all of these are things that we offer, but it's a tick list depending on the company, if it needs it, yes or no, and if it wishes to have.
Yeah.
And the most important thing all startup and small companies is that you have one single invoice at the end of the month that is encompassing all these, that includes all the infrastructure, internet, electricity, fuel, cleaning, consumable. So why spend time on bothering with all of
Low
these?
value add activities.
Focus on your core business. We know how to do best these activities. We have our track, we're very fast, we're always, and plus we give you the flexibility to grow in BDD based on your needs as a business environment, to grow within 1 month within the same conditions, just within a notice, grow, expand. And most important, we've set up the infrastructure, not to have you're a campus connected to the community. Wherever you roam across BDD, you're surrounded by like-minded people who want to share their ideas and learn from the mistakes that were done by peers to try to avoid or potentially expand their business opportunities. That's what's
absolutely. Absolutely. And people are at the core of it. And since we're on the topic of people,
Thank you.
I wanna move the question to Sarah. Would love to hear from you on how Jobs for Lebanon plans on attracting foreign companies to hire Lebanese talents as opposed to other outsourcing hubs.
Yeah. So basically, it's based on 3 different pillars. One of which is what Wissam already mentioned. So basically, Lebanon is not going to be competitive in cost as alone. If it's only a matter of cost, then there are other hubs that are more cost competitive than Lebanon, especially if you're looking for more commoditized types of services, such as very low value coding.
And there aren't that many of us, are there?
And that's why we're not very cost competitive, because we don't have the labor, we're not abundant in labor. But where we are competitive is the between quality and then costs. So then you can find good quality at an affordable cost. And on top of that, there's a lot of soft skills that the Lebanese are renowned for, such as being proactive, problem solver, we talked about that, communication skills, being able to communicate in different languages and being able to communicate clearly. So all of these things are ways that we are able to compete. But that's one pillar. And on that, I also have a question that I'd like to ask, so I'll ask that at the end. The second pillar being, today, Jobs for Lebanon, we're reaching out to Lebanese-led companies outside or Lebanese-managed companies outside to have them and to suggest to them to outsource to Lebanon. And that has been very successful because there is in them already an interest and a bigger cause as to why we would outsource to Lebanon. So that has been also very successful. And we thought we'd try with that first. And once we have that track record, then we can start reaching out to a more global network. The third one is today also what we're doing at Jobs for Lebanon is that we're sourcing vetted, established players like CME in the technology sectors that have customers that have done this several times before, that their quality is guaranteed, and that they have customers that testify to that, to make sure that when you make a connection and when someone tries to outsource to Lebanon, he has a good experience. Because the last thing we need is to market the Lebanon brand and then to disappoint. So find the few companies that are doing it right, that have done it before, that have gone through, because there's so many challenges, right? So gone through the challenges, have the solutions, and then grow from there. So these are the 3 things of how we're tackling being more competitive as an outsourcing hub compared to other hubs. And the question that I had was, I've heard this several times before, the subject matter experts, the domain matter expertise, and how important that is, and how in countries like Lebanon, such as also our southern neighbor, these are countries that we have the potential of becoming subject matter experts and growing and developing that. What are the different verticals that Lebanon can be a subject matter expert in? So I think that's a question I have. I have a few ideas I've been asking through the research with the Jobs for Lebanon. We've been doing research and asking different providers about that, and that's something that I'm curious about.
And here I'd like to open it to anybody that's on this call that actually has an opinion on this. Feel free to jump in.
Yes. So Mr. Wheeler brought up a good point earlier, and I just wanted him to explain what he mentioned because he didn't get to explain it that much.
It wasn't my point. looked it up online.
No worries. So if you do have a point, please feel free to come back. Sarah, and based on some research that a project that I worked on was creative economies were definitely something that was very much of a vertical that is we have a competitive advantage in as a country. And that includes everything from culinary, fashion, theater, the intellectual pieces, as well as the traditional software and that kind of development. I think there are some other opportunities as well, including everything that is now emerging in terms of renewable energies and garbage collection and recycling and all of that. We've seen some pretty good innovation out of that. But if anybody has an opinion on this, please do feel free to jump in. That said, I want to actually go back to a question that we had on here and to the main theme of this talk, which is the currency devaluation. How did that affect you? And more importantly, is that positive or negative at the end of the day for a company that is operating in Lebanon, paying salaries in Lebanon, but potentially getting paid from outside sources? Wissam, maybe you can get us started on this.
Sure. Now, of course, the currency devaluation or the way the currency is being devaluated in Lebanon is not the typical way, because you have different rates now on the market. So you have almost 4 different rates in the market. But for companies that export or that generate fresh dollars as income, and they pay their employees as fresh dollars as well, they do not have any problem or any challenge regarding the currency devaluation. What concerns me much more than the devaluation now is what's going to happen in the future, or what's going to happen in the future, and the currency policy that's going to be in place in the future, which is going to affect.
Would you mind just putting yourselves on mute, please, if you're not speaking? Thank you. Okay, Wissam, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. So what concerns me more is the currency policy or the policies that the government is going to put in place, and this is going to affect our cost in the future. But currently, it's a bit different, especially for all companies that has the revenue in dollars or fresh dollars, and they pay their employees in fresh dollars. Actually, the employees, they have probably a higher purchasing power today because of the currency devaluation.
I was just wondering if I could ask a question.
Go for it.
Do you think that this is affected by the $236 million in U.S. foreign aid that is given to Lebanon for the approximately 1.5 refugees in the country, or do you think that has nothing to do with it?
Well, could you clarify the question a little bit?
Well, I'm just wondering if the currency devaluation has anything to do with the large number of refugees.
Maybe that's off topic, so maybe we'll take that in a different panel. But thank you for the question. Mohammed, I want to go back to you on the BDD, and I would love to ask a question on what do you have that's coming next that any potential tenant could leverage?
So next, we're going forward, Desiree, as I mentioned in our plan. We're continuing phase 2, where we're aiming to grow our community to 2,500 community members compared to 1,500. So that's almost double in size within the upcoming 2 years. And we aim really to focus on outsourcing companies. And we believe, as I said, this unfortunate sequence of events that happened since last year to date is the greatest opportunity to go back on our original vision that Lebanon should be the production hub, where talent is retained in Lebanon and serving not only the region, which is the Middle East, but or mainly Europe and the US. Given some very basic infrastructure that remain in place, internet, high-speed internet, electricity, as Wissam said, we can take care of that, so just be able to import fuel into the country. This is a great opportunity. And with that, with the academy that we're focusing a lot on really upskilling the digital skills of the talent that is existing, with today COVID, where you have work remotely from home, where suddenly all the companies international, from the Googles to the Facebooks, are looking to hire the best talents wherever they are, and they don't want them to be anymore presence in the US or in Europe, but could be hired in Lebanon, and to have just a place where they know they can really be very productive is where we see we are very well positioned to cater for all these demands. That's one. Second, from day one, it's not only about the creative and digital community that we wanted to attract, IT, ICT media, digital media, but as you mentioned, architecture, procurement, engineering. We just were able to attract a company that works in Saudi Arabia who will move their engineering team, mostly Lebanese, and will grow their engineering team to be working from Lebanon. You don't need to produce all your engineering drawings or your designs or your shop drawings or your procurement effort while being set up in Saudi Arabia or in the UAE or in the Gulf region or in the MENA. You need your salespeople to be in these markets or in Europe, but you can have all your back of house in Beirut. And all what you will need to have is more competitive, again, added value. We're talking about engineer, graphic designer, procurement, all of these accounting, legal, that will set up in Lebanon to serve these companies, grow their businesses abroad. That's the model from day one. And this is what we see a great opportunity because, yes, for anyone who's getting paid from outside, Lebanon became a much better opportunity with the purchasing power of real dollars versus the current devaluation that has happened.
Desiree, can I ask a question?
Go for it.
Hi, Muhammad. I just have a quick question. You said that at the end of the month for the company that are resident at BDD, they will get just one bill. Can you give me an idea about that bill, how much it is?
So hello, Kiki. So we offer in our campus solutions from a founder who want to stay on a desk, fully inclusive desk, to a company that want to take a current shell office, 1,000 square meter, and just have a rent fee and not all the services. A fully serviced desk within our co-working space, all inclusive, would be at what is priced today at $250 plus VAT per month, all inclusive, everything, internet, everything included. This is dedicated desk. You can have a flexible desk that is at $200. Flexible, you're not guaranteed to have your own desk for you. You can have also like a 12-day pass. So we're really very flexible, trying to offer you based on your needs. That's where companies even would take a closed office and within it, next to it, some of their team members with flexible desk if they're not working for COVID on a daily basis. So this is just an indication. Now, another indication is a closed office that would fit up to a small company of up to 8 team members would be at almost $1,200 all-inclusive per month. This is inclusive consumables, cleaning, internet, electricity, fuel, generation, taxes, everything. That's one invoice, and we take care of the rest.
And this is fresh money or dollars or what is it?
No, these prices are local dollars. These are dollars, okay? This is became even more, and even in LBP. Now, unfortunately, the 1500 we're not able anymore because no one, even our suppliers and the cost have increased. So we apply a rate of 3,000, less than the 3,900 that you can withdraw at the bank. So we apply at 3,000, but any company that wants to pay with fresh dollars, we are accepting a 50% discount on the rate that we currently have. So that's even the space has become more affordable for any company from abroad to come set up in Lebanon, because even these costs are much more affordable compared to regional market rates.
And Mohammed, there was a question earlier that Lena asked that I wanted to come back to, which is, have you seen any change in the tenants and the profiles of the tenants recently compared to before? And is it still the creative types, the digital types?
So again, I mentioned this, unfortunately, we've seen a correction. And the biggest correction that we've seen is related to companies, two types of companies. Companies who had relied solely on the 331 funding by the bank money, who have really faced major issues in raising follow-up funds, and who had not grown their business to outside Lebanon, who were relying only on the local market. Because with the risk that Lebanon poses with the market, no one is interested to invest in such types of companies. With 331 being stopped or the funds dried up, these companies, even incubators, accelerators, had to either close down or to minimize their presence. We've had, unfortunately, some companies, due to also the blast and all the events, who decided just to leave Lebanon and set up abroad outside Lebanon, with many trying to keep a link with BDD. Whenever they're here, they want to work or keeping a smaller office. From that perspective, we saw a big increase in NGOs, international NGOs, wanting to set up and now helping, and all this really movement towards Lebanon to support to SMEs that is setting up at BDD. That's one. But more interesting is we saw a much bigger increase in companies from abroad opening in Lebanon and starting to open their outsourcing back of house production office from Lebanon. And this is what's filling up our tenants. And this is the real model, because if the company wants to survive, it needs to rely on making Lebanon a production hub, an attraction for talent, but serving the regional market and the international market. And we've seen many outsourcing companies such as CMEs, for example, or even digital media, creative media, really increasing their reach and their communities and their employee and their business in general.
Sarah, there was a question around where do you search for good Lebanese programmers? And I think it's a question for all three panelists. I believe the Jobs for Lebanon website would be a good one. Do you mind just giving us the address?
Yes, of course. It's jobsforlebanon.com. I'm going to share it on the chat, and then you can also see on our social media pages, we always advertise different things, and we definitely have a very big, we have a lot of developers on the platform, so we have a lot of applicants in that.
And what kind of jobs are they?
So different types of, if we're looking in this case for programmers, so different types of programming, from the most basic to the more complex. We've seen a lot of senior positions, I think, posted as well. So you see that. And in terms of very junior software developers, I know that SE Factory graduates a lot lot of them. And
SE Factory, which is a Lebanon-based NGO that works a lot with the underprivileged youth. Yeah.
And so those graduates also are on Jobs for Lebanon. So, so I'm going to share the website on the chat.
Thank you. Wissam, any special sources you go to, and are you hiring?
Well, we're continuously hiring, but in terms of sources, we rely a lot on universities. So we consider universities as our main pool of resources. Most of the Lebanese Lebanese universities. We also headhunt resources on LinkedIn, especially for the experienced one. And we have our own what we call the induction program, or it's a kind of a training program where we enroll the candidates, regardless if they are senior or junior, and they go through different exercises or steps that get them easily onboarded in CME on both the technical aspect as well as the cultural aspect. So this is the main talent pool that we use today. I believe it's coming from the universities.
Great. And Muhammad, a question for you. You mentioned the work that you've done with Microsoft with a lot of the universities. Is that only open to the BDD tenants? And are there any plans to open it up further?
No, definitely. The BDD Academy's work is across Lebanon. So the initiative with the World Bank Group that is supported by Microsoft and LinkedIn is for all senior students or recently graduate students in priority, or anyone who has been recently affected by the whole blast situation in Lebanon, which is like almost for everyone who has graduated in the last 3-4 years and want to upskill and get the Microsoft certifications for mostly 3 technical jobs: software development, data analytics, and IT administrator. And all these are the 3 technical paths, and there will be more than 1,000 talents who will be selected across Lebanon, supported to get these certifications to help them really achieve better jobs across Lebanon.
Great. So what is we're running out of time. What is the last message you want the audience to walk away with? And that's a question for all the panelists.
So, I would say, despite the unbelievable, harsh and conditions and news that mostly Lebanese or like international people today assisting to this webinar have seen around Lebanon, the energy is still there, the culture is still there. This is a country of freedom of speech, which by itself is the only one almost in the whole MENA, Middle East and North Africa region, which pushes really for lots of creativity. And the Lebanese people have made it during the worst time, during the wartime, to be able, as Wissam said, to find alternative solutions. So this is a great opportunity to set up in Lebanon, benefit from this opportunity, get great talents, and increase your sales and customers.
Thank you, Muhammad. Wissam.
Well, I go back to the first statement I started with. It's the challenge that I wanted with my partners to beat, which is we can't do anything in Lebanon. And if I look back today on whatever we did as CME, I feel very proud. I feel proud because we enabled 200 plus families in Lebanon to survive what is considered today the most dangerous phase of the Lebanese history, probably, in terms of the economic turmoil that we're experiencing today. We had them build a career, not just earn money, but build a career similar to any other career that they would envision in other countries in Europe or even in the US. We also allowed them to stay closer to their families. And I think everyone today knows the value of being close to their families, given the pandemic that we're witnessing these days. So I think all of this makes me feel very proud of what we did. And today we're fighting our last battle between the 2 economic models, whether we want the consumption-based economy or the production-based economy. And as in any investment case, it's about time. So I think this is the right time today to make a move and to pick a side, whether you want to be on the production environment, production economy, or the consumption-based economy. We did our choice 17 years ago. So I think today it's more for other people also to jump in and trust the things that we can accomplish in this country.
Thank you. Sarah, why don't we actually leave it with you?
Yeah, it's very touching, the last couple of words. So basically, I think the last thing to say is that maybe the only thing we have is our talent, and maybe it's the only thing that we don't need to prove. It's something that we're renowned for. And today, with the world in which we live today, in the current context, there's so much to do with our talents. Remote work has never been as customary as it is today. Outsourcing parts of your business, having teams located in different parts of the world is the way the world works today. So we need to use this. This is our opportunity to be able to use the talent that we have and to create the jobs and wealth that we can create with this talent in the world context we have today.
So I'm hearing we have very creative talent. We have an infrastructure that is conducive with some workarounds. We have a lot of creativity, a lot of opportunities with remote work and otherwise, and it's always a good idea to bet on Lebanon. So beautiful words to end this with. And now, before we all leave, if I could just please ask you to turn on your cameras, even if you're walking, just so that we can take a last screenshot, please. Everybody. Joe, Albert, FM, Eric, Sherbil, Mahmoud. I'm just reading the random names I have in front of me. Salah.
No question. Thank you very much. All clear. Thank you.
Great. Can we turn on the camera though? Would love to see you, Joe. Salah.
I'm in my PJs, honestly. So I'm listening in out of Dubai. So it's like 8
well, thanks
PM
for joining anyway.
Thank you very much.
Mahmoud, Eric, Albert. Cool. Good. Thank you for all of
Hello. It's Carol Nasser. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. Glad this was useful. And Leah, thank you, our fearless leader. Good. Well, thanks everyone, and hope this was useful. Let's keep believing in Lebanon. Thank you, Leila. Sam says the country needs us now more than ever. If we want to keep the country the way it is, otherwise it's just gonna, by default, we're making a decision that it's no longer going to be ours. So thank you. Big love. Big hugs, and then hopefully we'll actually get to meet again in another seminar very soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.